I review movie previews.
What's up, movie world, and welcome to NerdFest 2012.
Avengers Marvelthon!
Avenger Marvelthon. AMC
Nerdthon!
How you feeling, Jonas?
I'm so psyched. I'm so pumped. We were sitting here. I got my Hulk 3D glasses, which, because they ran out of all the other ones.
The Hulk's got no love.
Hulk's got no love. Everyone, Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, gone.
Yeah.
Hulk, is the only one left. I love the Hulk. I got mad love for the Hulk.
Which I'm hoping that this Avengers is going to do the Hulk the right way.
The second one, Incredible, with Edward Norton, as I recall, was pretty good.
Yeah,
it was a solid movie. And I'm sorry, I love the first one.
Yeah.
I really do.
Okay.
It's not a Hollywood blockbuster. It's an art film about father and son relationships that just happens to have a gigantic green monster in it.
Yes.
Like that's, don't give your blockbuster movies to Ang Lee to handle. It's just,
You know what, that's a very interesting point when you look at it from that perspective, because let's say it's 2 hours. The first hour is no Hulk.
Right.
It's just all father and son emotion,
Yeah.
and you're just sitting there thinking, okay, I want a superhero movie,
Yeah,
but
I
this is
want
like
Hulk
art house
smash.
Ang Lee.
Yeah. He made an Ang Lee movie that just happened to have the Hulk in, and it wasn't good for a Taco Bell crossover Hulk smash.
Right, exactly.
Side note: go on Onion archives, look up why no one want make Hulk 2. It's so funny.
So this is going to be the Marvelthon Nerdfest mega review of every movie we're watching leading up to and
Iron
including
Man,
Avengers.
Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, and boom, Avengers.
First star, what are you expecting with Avengers?
Everything that I'm expecting going in is great dialogue, great action sequences, great characters. Is one thing that Whedon is so good at, is that creating these teams. That's Buffy was a team, Angel was a team. At later seasons, Dollhouse became a team show about these misfits that don't fit together. One of the things the Onion pointed out, which is that these people don't have any business. Like, you've got Norse mythology, you've got technology, you've got World War II.
Primal Rage, the Hulk.
Primal Rage, the Hulk,
Cannibalism.
and then also like CIA stuff with
And then
Black Widow
Hottie.
and
And then
Hottie
Hottie
and Hawkeye, and like the Archer. It's like they have no reason being together.
Right.
Whedon is so good with dialogue and characters and team dynamic.
Right.
I really am expecting, and I hope this isn't a case of having too big expectations going in, but I'm really hoping this is a character-driven, slam bang action awesome movie.
Now, I want to call you out a little bit here,
Okay.
because we've had this discussion a bunch of times where we'll go see movies that are just the blockbuster fun. Is Iron Man 1, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2. When is it right for just to have a fun set piece movie that you're now looking for the emotions of the characters to take place? When is it right for
I'll say
the
this:
blockbuster with the characterization?
I will defend just good, solid, well executed blockbuster entertainment.
Right.
What I'm saying is when you can take that and then ratchet it up to the next level.
Okay.
That's amazing. That's when you have something like The Dark Knight.
Okay.
That's when you have those movies that just function on so many
That
levels.
mesh
all
of,
the mesh of
here's
character
what's
and
possible.
story, and here's what's possible.
Yeah.
Here's what Hollywood really can deliver.
Okay.
Here's what movies can accomplish.
Yeah. And Entertainment Weekly recently was the Avengers, and they had an interview with the whole cast. And it was kind of, it's a magazine, so you can't really get that in depth. But there was an interesting thing that when they asked Joss about kind of what was his view of the film, and he looked at it that same way where you just mentioned, it's a bunch of strangers coming together. So it's a bunch of outcasts. And he's kind of looking at it as almost America, where there's all these different groups. They think they have the right answer for how to fix problems. The conservatives, the liberals,
The Tea Party,
yeah.
the Norse gods.
Norse gods. So not to say that each character is going to represent a political party in that heavy-handed kind of way,
Right.
but just the idea of people that have their own ideology of like, here's how I'm going to solve these problems. And now we're forced to kind of come together. I'm a big fan of having kind of deeper meaning or just exploring things with all stories. So this movie's going to be seen by millions of people. Do you know how much it's made overseas so far?
I don't know. Yeah.
Supposedly it's already made, it's in the hundreds of
Yeah.
millions, and it's only been out like a week or whatever. So.
Well, and that's the other side benefit of this. I think I mentioned a comment on your board, which is that Cabin in the Woods, as poorly as that did, and it did well in retro to how much it cost, and like it's making a profit, and it's like it didn't become the word of mouth success that we kind of hoped it would be. I think it's definitely a cult classic midnight movie in the making. But with this under his belt, Joss Whedon's going to have carte blanche to do whatever he wants, and not only whatever he wants, but get movies made for Drew Goddard and probably Marty Nixon and probably David Fury and all his cast and crew. Like it's an exciting time. I don't know how they put it, how it got in his hands. I don't.
Yeah.
That'd be a great story to find out.
Who is the executive that was smart enough and
trusting
enough and sympathetic to the audience's needs and the fanboy base?
Right.
To say,
That didn't go to
let's
Brett
do it
Ratner.
right. Yeah.
You know.
Well, because Incredible Hulk was directed by Louis French last name.
Right.
Who did like Transporter.
Yeah.
And arguably, out of the directors who have done this little Marvel-a-thon verse of all the characters that are in Avengers, he was probably the least complete storyteller, where he's like an action specialist.
Right.
Jon Favreau, he's done the writing thing with Swingers, and his direction's pretty solid. Kenneth Branagh, who's got the Shakespeare background doing Thor. Hopefully, this will be the start of a new trend, because this is very much like Joss having his Christopher Nolan moment. With,
Exactly.
With
Right.
Batman
He's been
Begins,
hanging the keys.
now he can go off and make Inception.
Right.
Which
is
he's
another
going to
thing-
do. Much Ado About Nothing or something. That's supposedly
Is that his next
Whedon's
project?
next project is
Interesting.
like modern-day Shakespeare adaptations.
Well, the other thing also, Nolan, like how it'd be interesting for me. I would like to know how he got the keys to the Batman franchise, because he was just following Insomnia and Memento.
Yeah.
And following, which wasn't even on anyone's radar. Like,
Right.
And how he got from there to, I don't know.
I think
it's,
that was 2004, 2005, so I think the only major superhero to have been adapted at that point with the new CGI and stuff was Spider-Man, maybe.
and X-Men.
X-Men.
X-Men too.
So Sam Raimi was
Right, Brian
cut
Singer.
his teeth with the Evil Dead movies and all
Well,
that.
and that's
Bryan
I think
Singer,
that's why I think
hardcore.
led to Ang Lee getting the keys to the Hulk, which kind of backfired on them. They kind of going.
It went from like artsy to artsy to super artsy,
Yeah.
and now we're like, okay.
too artsy.
Ice Storm to the Hulk isn't going to work. You know?
Exactly.
But we can do App Pupil to X-Men. That's not too far of a stretch.
Yeah.
So then expectations for the Avengers, we're looking for each character to have their moment, each character to be explored a little bit. What do you think about Loki as the main
That's
opponent?
my main concern going in, because Loki was so underdeveloped in the movie Thor. I was not a.
It was okay what they did
Here's
with
my
them.
thing. My problem with him, I think we talked about this in our review, was that if you're gonna have a trickster god character that like relies on his silver tongue and relies on being crafty, he has to be crafty. He has to be able to sell himself. The other characters, no one bought his shit.
Right.
That was kind of a running joke, was that no one, like, everyone thought he was full of shit.
Yeah.
That he wasn't able to put one over on anybody.
He was like the little brother who had the ambitions but was too small to. Everyone just kind of pushed him away.
Exactly.
Like you hold his head as he swings at you, and like he can't reach you.
Precisely. He wasn't threatening in that respect. Now, as the little brother that has so much hatred and resentment towards his older brother and all that, that definitely could lead to something great here.
Right.
You know, the potential is there.
Yeah.
I trust Whedon. I trust his writing, like, to flesh out the character and make something of him. You know?
He'll do the work in terms of doing the research in the comics and trying to make it fit. Do you think it's important that it follows the comic universe?
I'm more of a DC guy. I'm not a huge Marvel guy. The important thing to me is that it's a coherent narrative.
Right.
I was talking to John the other day. I was saying how Iron Man, the central thing, the thing that keeps his heart beating, is not like the arc reactor power units that powers the suit. The suit originally was solar powered. It had nothing to do with the centerpiece. I think now they did the Ultimate Avengers line where that has been rewritten. They kind of rewrote history a little bit, but
Yeah, I haven't read comics in about 10 years. I actually, the other day I was going through my collection of just what I have in there.
Yeah.
And I found like Frank Miller did a Dark Horse comic, Terminator
versus
RoboCop.
Yes.
Like, this really happened? Okay.
It was awesome.
There's Batman and Spawn.
Frank Miller wrote RoboCop too.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah. And I'm a big fan of a movie really is only as memorable and powerful as its villain. Like when you look at movies that you remember, Hannibal Lecter,
right?
Even The Wicked Witch, the
Hans
Joker,
Gruber, right? The Joker, Hans Gruber,
because
John Lithgow in Cliffhanger,
John Lithgow in Ricochet. Why was John Lithgow a bad guy for that little period?
Did you see Cliffhanger?
It's been a while.
Do you know what true love is, dear? Sacrifice. I don't know why I remember that. That's lodged in there somewhere.
And then he did Third Rock from the Sun.
Exactly.
That might be kind of one thing that's giving people a not so super excited vibe about The Dark Knight Rises, because Bane, he's going to be fine, but he's not that Joker just like way out there like, whoa, this is going to be awesome.
If you are familiar with the comics, but Bane is a very central main. I mean, he broke Batman's back
and all
so,
that.
I mean...
But the way he's coming off in the trailer. And I think that movies that, when they have that Darth Vader, that presence of, here's someone I believe can defeat this main character.
Right.
Do I believe Loki can beat all of these
No,
superheroes?
I don't.
No.
And side
No.
note, it doesn't. I don't believe right now that Bane can defeat Batman. Now, again, that's just judging from the previews. Going back to the Avengers preview,
Right.
my main complaint, a lot of it seemed the dialogue that I'm so excited for was very generic and very dumbed down, it felt like.
Okay.
But I think that might be also because it's the preview and they have to do the most generic baseline
Right.
stuff to sell it.
I mean,
so.
they're looking for like a super worldwide hit.
Right.
And this is lining up to, it conceivably could top one of the Cameron movies, maybe? You think it can become the
Totally.
all-time box office hit?
Because not only is it a giant superhero event movie, it's probably going to be a well-written one and
Right.
a well-critically regarded one.
Yes.
So it's not only going to get the opening weekend, it's going to get the repeat viewings. It's going to
Yeah.
get the people that don't normally even come to superhero movies,
Right.
kind of a thing. The people that went to Dark Knight,
Yeah.
will come to this.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
And it's got IMAX and it's got 3D and
Oh,
all
yeah,
that. So
all that
it's
stuff,
going
all
to
that
have the extra
ancillary,
cash coming
yeah.
in. Let's quickly talk about what does this mean for the future of movies now that they have done this separate movies building towards a
Crazy
super movie
franchise
with
thing.
all the characters
It's
together.
really interesting. Could they do it with DC? Is DC? I don't know if
Justice
DC's,
League?
Yeah, with Justice League.
Rumors are that it's already in the works.
See, my problem, I don't know if, and maybe the fanboys will have my head. I don't think their characters translate well enough to the big screen.
Okay.
Does that make like the Flash, Aquaman? Like Aquaman's kind of a running joke.
It's kind of with Entourage and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Wonder Woman. Again, she just looks so goofy. I don't, you know what I mean? Like Batman, yes. Superman, yes. But then beyond that, like Green Lantern was a atrocious piece of
It could,
crap.
but
Like
Green Lantern, I loved the concept so much, and there was so much good stuff in there with this kind of the energy thing and the fear, and here's how you use your imagination to create your weapons. There was a lot of cool ideas in Green Lantern, with Iron Man kind of being the way all the superhero movies were like, here's how you do an Iron Man. You kind of do some comedy, you have cool action sequences, and now DC was kind of like, well, let's a Marvel version of a DC idea.
Yeah.
And it kind of came off there. But do you think that even other movies...
Well, before
I
we
mean,
get into that,
yeah.
let me backtrack of why I think Marvel is more successful or will be more successful than DC.
Okay.
Marvel's comic, Stan Lee, Dick, all those guys from the 60s and 70s specialized in creating characters that were their alter egos were real people that were
Okay.
conflicted, that had problems, that had issues. I mean, Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, all the, Wolverine, the X-Men, definitely the X-Men, and we get that definitely with Iron Man, with Tony Stark's and his, narcissistic playboy,
Sure.
and Thor, and all these actual people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas in the DC universe, I never got the sense that anyone besides Batman really had an interesting psychological backstory.
Superman's pretty simple.
Superman is interesting in the sense they've tried to do a lot with him.
Yeah.
In this, because he is a god basically. But like Hawkman. What's Hawkman's life like? What's
Yeah.
Aquaman's life like? The Green Lantern, what is his life like? Or Barry Allen, it's like they tried to. Again, maybe I'm not that huge a comic book guy. I'm sure maybe the real comic book fans could really explain this to me.
Right.
But I don't get that sense.
DC is more known for their graphic novels, V for Vendetta,
Vertigo
all,
line.
all that
Right.
kind of stuff. Which is already, a lot of those have been adapted. So those darker tones.
Right. Yeah, and war pieces basically.
Right. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's probably inevitable that DC is going to try to do the Justice League and mirror what Marvel's doing.
Right.
But my fear here is that we've just talked about it's in the hands of the right person. Joss Whedon's got it. Good writer, character-based. Fans
Right.
are going to respond. But again, like Hollywood only looks at the bottom line, and they tend to work backwards.
Yes.
So it's like, oh, this worked because we brought together all these other movies into one movie.
Totally. That's what
So-
they'll think. They'll think nothing
Yeah.
about the critical response or Josh Whedon or anything like that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So
Yeah.
now they're going to be looking at like, well, can we take Expendables and mix it with
Please, yes.
G.I. Joe? I know anything with
Please,
Expendables you want to
yes.
do. The answer is yes.
Oh my God, Jet Li versus Snake Eyes, Dolph Lundgren versus The Rock.
Arguably, Expendables could basically be looked at like as John McClane plus
Right.
What was Arnold Schwarzenegger's character in Predator?
I'm thinking Commando. Maybe,
Commando.
but yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
or Predator. Yeah.
Arguably, it's just doing the same thing, putting him in one
Because
movie.
it's taking all those 80s action stars
Yeah.
that were basically the same person in
Right.
every movie. So
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. It's a friend.
And you could kind of look at these movies like Valentine's Day or New Year's Eve as kind of mega romantic comedies. They're just taking all these stars and putting them
Yeah.
into one movie now.
Yeah.
So is this going to be the trend now where they go back and look at properties and say, let's take Howard the Duck and put it in Gremlins, or whatever.
Yeah.
Not that anyone would do anything with Howard the Duck, but
Right.
Indiana Jones is now going to be in a movie with Remo Williams or something. Or
Oh my God, that'd be awesome.
So are we looking at more of like this hyper mashup thing now, where we kind of have the goofy thing like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter?
So we have the genre mashup, but now you're thinking the character mashup? from
Character
different
mashups,
franchise, like
title
Paramount's-
mashups.
So like Paramount's characters and Warner Brothers characters.
Or
And,
just anybody's characters.
Right.
Yeah, just if whatever Paramount looks at their selection of here's all the movies we've done.
Right.
Let's take 3 of these movies and put them together. Ghostbusters plus
Transformers,
Transformers,
or whatever.
or let's just throw a bunch of these on the wall and see what sticks, and that's going to be a movie together.
Wow. I mean, that could be interesting.
curious.
I'm curious. It could be interesting. It could
But
also be
doesn't
just
mean it's gonna be
garbage.
good movies.
Nah, it could be or couldn't be. Avengers could be a horrible movie if it was in Brett Ratner's hands.
Right.
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 X-Men 2, one of the greatest superhero movies of all time.
Yes.
X-Men 3, garbage.
Right.
Garbage.
Yeah.
Destroyed the franchise. Absolutely sucked balls.
Totally.
And why? Bryan Singer, Brett Ratner.
Right.
That's why.
And it
Same
really
characters,
comes down
same
to
property. That's why.
People who understand that movies are about stories are about character, and character is about exploring something and going through some stress and some drama and all that. That's a nice way to kick it off.
I think that's a good way to kick it off. Yeah.
So we'll kind of evolve our thoughts, I'm sure, as we watch these movies in the next 14-hour marathon. How do we get ourselves into this, Jonas?
We are blessed. That's how we are
I have
blessed.
a gallon of water with me.
I got
have
a
some
thermos of coffee. I got snacks.
Snacks,
I got Cokes I
apples.
bought at Walgreens. I got all kinds of snuck into my backpack.
a little airplane pillow for the neck or whatever.
Yep, we are good to go.
So
Locked
we are
and
good
loaded.
to go. So let's we got Iron Man 1 coming up.
Coming
so let's
up.
get in there
Let's
and
do
see what
it.
happens.
Rock and roll.
All right.
Nerdthon. Commence.
Marathon, commence. And by the way, there will be spoilers for every movie that we're
yeah,
going to
yeah.
review.
Spoiler.
Including the Avengers.
Yes.
So if you haven't seen the Avengers by the time you listen to this, you don't have to stop it just yet because we have 5 movies to review before that. But just be aware of that.
All right,
So,
movie
all right.
nerds,
Up, up, and
assemble.
away. Assemble.
Do you want to do that again with in unison?
Yeah, okay,
So,
so
movie nerds,
assemble. All right, part 1 completed. Iron Man. We just got out. What do you think?
As good as I remember it, I saw it in the theaters. I saw it once more on DVD some time ago. I haven't seen it in a while.
Right.
I forgot just how well written it is, how funny it is, and how
Yeah.
great Robert Downey Jr. is. Side note, by the way, putting Josh Whedon and Robert Downey Jr. together almost isn't fair. That's one thing we can talk about the
I
dialogue.
wonder if any of his dialogue is even going to be written from the script. Like Downey likes to just improvise, and Josh seems like a fun, he's willing
I
to
think
go
they'll
with
work
that.
something out. I think it's going to be pretty effing awesome.
Okay.
So it's almost like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like one of those 30s, like not a
Slap-
screwball, like a
screwball
screwball comedy.
comedy?
Like that rapid fire, like His Girl Friday.
Right.
The dialogue is just so sharp when you listen to the beginning scene where he's supposed to be accepting the award and he's in Las Vegas, and then that conversation between him and Terrence Howard, and just that whole scene, like he's just going, like render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, and he gives him the award, and just like you're blowing my dice, Honey Bear. And like,
right.
it's just like, and then him and Pepper Potts and and Gwyneth
Great
Paltrow.
combination and
She's
chemistry.
great in it, and she actually gives the character.
Yeah.
It could have been a very one-dimensional character, and you see her. She's a good actress. You see her suffering and her that she cares about him, but also is distanced from him.
Yeah.
And then she also gets a killer line in the beginning when the reporter has the line about, he still has you picking up his dry cleaning. It's like, yes, and occasionally I take out the trash. Burn. That's great.
Yeah, and Gwyneth Paltrow, I think a lot of her personal life comments kind of overshadow her movie abilities. I think a lot of people don't like her. Like there was a joke in Contagion when she dies that some people were clapping in the audience because she's kind of said these things of like she loves going to England and she feels more British than American, and whatever, people kind of have a bad sort of vibe for her. But when she's acting, she was good in Seven, she was good in Shakespeare in Love,
Right.
and she really brings a small character here to life.
Yeah.
She does a really good job.
There's not
I actually
a lot
forgot
to-
about how cute and adorable she was.
Yeah, because there's not a lot to her character at all, and she really, and whatever there is, I think comes from her and from her performance, definitely.
And
So.
she's that kind of nerdy office girl who likes the boss, who's the playboy guy, and she kind of represents for Tony kind of the more stable, this is the girl I should be going
Well,
for.
no, not just that, but a life with another person. There's a part of that in the beginning where he's in the cave with the Arabic partner, the guy that's helping him out, and he talks about, how he has a family and Tony has no one. He says, so the man who has everything has nothing.
Yeah.
And he says, like, he's sitting there, his chest cavity is wide open. He has to ask his assistant to basically reach in and save his life. Because he's got no one.
Nice little visual cue, yeah.
He says, I got no one else to ask.
Yeah.
It's him and then the robots.
Right.
Like in his basement. Like that's it. That's all he has.
Yeah. This was really the first kind of action-y direction that he ever did.
The only thing he had done before this that even pointed in this direction was it wasn't Zarathustra, but it was something like that.
Yeah.
It was
the
like a
board game.
It was
Jumanji in space.
Jumanji in space, yeah.
Right.
So,
there was like an Ironmonger kind of a robot character in that.
I never saw it.
Oh,
I'm just going based on my weird pop culture memory, but like, but yeah, he had never done anything like and this is a solid action movie, really great action sequences, really smart and well shot, and no shaky cam, and you can see everything. And
the effects here are solid. I remember when this came out, he said that Transformers 1, one of the few good things that it created was this technology, this CGI. It really kind of perfected the whole putting the suit on and all those parts being able to move. That if Transformers hadn't taken the time to kind of explore that, it really wouldn't have been possible in this movie.
Yeah.
I think if there was a little bit of a kind of something I would change here, just what we talked about in the beginning here, with movies are only as dramatic and interesting as its bad guy. Jeff Bridges and the Ironmonger here.
I had the same problem. The third act basically is where all kind of falls apart because it's just you don't get Obadiah's motive. He doesn't have a realistic motivation for
it's
me.
Very like, I'm the guy who should be in charge, and I've watched I've over this company while you're a guy,
But even though he is in charge, he's got the perfect setup. If you look at it from a quote-unquote realistic situation, he is running a $1 trillion company while he's got a playboy kid. Doesn't ever interfere in the business aspect. He just kind of dicks around and like, dates supermodels and invents really cool shit. Like he calls him the golden goose. It's like, why would... And Obadiah...
Kind of like Rutger Hauer, Bruce Wayne in the first Batman Begins sort of dynamic.
And like Obadiah is probably worth billions of dollars. So what motive? Why does he need to kill off Robert Downey Jr.? Why does he need to assume control of he has control of the company.
Yeah.
Doesn't he? Like that's the whole thing. So, like, he wanted to kill him before Downey Jr. did the whole, like, shutting down the weapons division thing. Like, that was all before that.
Right.
So, A, I don't buy that. B, I don't buy they selling weapons to terrorists. That's ridiculous. If you're a $1 trillion company that does business with the American military-industrial complex, you don't sabotage that by selling a few bombs here and there to Al-Qaeda or the 10 Rings or whatever it was.
Right.
And then C, the last part is how ridiculous it was that all of a sudden he's in the giant mech suit, like just killing federal officers. Like, what is his end game there? Just like, now I'm in a big robot and try and stop me, world governments? Like, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like, mad with power.
Right, exactly. Like, it would have been way more powerful if we would have understood his insanity. Make the insanity humanity.
Right.
Make us kind of go into his twisted mind and say, okay, I can see why he's doing this.
Right.
Instead of just like, okay, we'll just throw this on so that Iron Man has someone to fight at the end.
Right.
And there's a lot of they're cool where he goes up in the atmosphere and the
ice thing
freezes and he falls back down. A lot of good stuff going on here. And of course, Pepper Potts has got to show up because the damsel in distress has got to take place and all that. And we've got the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent showing up. It's all kind of according to Marvel's plan, but it was a little bit kind of too slapped together and didn't really come
It didn't
together.
resonate at all. Yeah, and again, it doesn't help that the sight of Jeff Bridges in a giant mech suit is kind of just ridiculous.
I do like he's like, hey, I'm gonna do it,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with like the badass look and just try this out. So it is what it is. And so the journey here for Tony Stark is playboy who has nothing to care about, goes by the end, now he's like, hey, I got kind of a purpose here a little bit.
Yeah.
And he is changed a little bit.
A little bit. He's still narcissistic and still like to announce
fun.
like, I'm Iron Man.
Right.
Like that's
I do love that was a great twist.
Oh,
where
yeah.
you think he's just gonna like, play it off and
the bodyguard.
Yeah.
No.
And then
That's a great and then cut.
and then you're like,
Cut.
what?
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
So
very keeping with the character they developed.
yeah, a nice way for Marvel to kind of start off its build towards the Avengers movie.
Right.
None of the other movies had the thing at the end of the teaser. At the
No,
trailer,
Iron Man is the first. Iron Man is
one
the
to do
first.
the teaser at the end of the
the
credits.
Avengers. Well, yeah, the whole, was it Strategic Homeland something initially, like the whole joke about the name, and then
Yeah.
at the end, Shield. Just call it Shield.
Just call it Shield, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It establishes a lot of style that will follow in the next movies, and it does a pretty good
Side
job
note,
bringing Iron Man into reality.
I'm really kind of curious how they're gonna pull off Sam Jackson's Nick Fury. It's so goofy. He's like in a Shaft costume and
Chef with an eye patch.
yeah, exactly. Like the original Nick Fury is a badass, like
Yeah.
definitely. And I've got no problems like white to black. Whatever. It's just that I don't know. He's being played so one-dimensional and so goofy.
What is his power? I haven't read any comics.
Oh, it's a military guy. He's just a
military
badass.
dude.
He's just
Okay.
a badass. Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully that character will have his moments, and be brought to.
Yeah, more than like get these mother aliens off my mother planet or whatever
Yeah. Well, Sam Jackson's become a parody of himself.
Yeah,
kind of,
some time ago. So.
So hopefully he'll have some.
Yeah.
There was an interesting thing in the Entertainment Weekly article where I guess he has a photographic memory.
So he remembers every moment of I'm the Man with Eugene Levy?
Unfortunately, he does.
Was it I'm the Man? Was that what it was called? Or was The Man? He's the Man?
I know what you're talking about. I
Yeah.
think it's called He's the Man.
He's the Man, yeah.
Shaft meets American Pie or something
Yes,
like
exactly,
that.
yeah.
But apparently when he was reading the
What's the
script
one
without
where
the
you
eye
said-
patch,
yeah.
he would remember the script, but when he put the eye patch on, he'd only be able to see half the page.
Wow.
And so he'd have to read the script with the eye patch on.
Wow.
I don't know if he was joking. I couldn't tell in the article, but it seemed like that was a real thing.
So maybe the one where he had the kilt and the blonde hair, he was just totally was he blind for that?
Is this a dream that you were having?
No, this is real. He creates some bizarre drug cocktail. It's in the late 90s. He's wearing a kilt. He has like ridiculous haircut. We'll have to look it up when we get home, definitely.
Well, I know
This exists.
He did set
It's
a
called,
record
like,
in the
it's not
90s.
Fahrenheit 451, something like that.
Something weird like that?
Formula something or other.
Okay. In the 90s, from after Pulp Fiction till the end of the decade,
Yeah.
he's the actor that was in the most movies.
I can see that.
Like-
he had a Nick Cage like quality control
Okay.
level going
Yeah.
on, where he was just appearing in whatever they were throwing his way. Well, think about it. The man for 30 years didn't have anything going on
Yeah.
except for like up
Coming
until
to
then.
America, he was the guy who robbed the McDowell's.
Yeah, like really
Right.
nothing of note, and he had
He
been
was
an
40
actor.
when he did
Pulp Fiction. See,
yeah.
there you go. Yeah,
So it's
so
like,
you
I got a lot
gotta
of
cash
catching
in. You
up to
gotta
do.
cash in while you can. He's
Yeah.
smart.
And he must be banking on these little 30-second cameos in these Marvel movies.
Totally.
All right, well, up and away to the Incredible Hulk. So we will
We'll catch up with
catch
you
up
then.
in about an hour and a half or 2 hours.
As I recall, a lot of good smashing.
Hulk smash.
A lot of good Hulk smash.
All right, so
So,
movie
nerds,
nerds,
assemble.
All right, so we just finished up Thor. We have
In 3D.
in 3D, Thor in 3D with the official Hulk glasses.
Again, all that was left.
All that was no
Thor
love for the
gone,
Hulk.
Captain America gone, Iron Man gone, Hulk
We
baby.
got Hulk C 3D.
That's right.
We have watched Iron Man 2, Incredible Hulk, and,
And
now we
Iron
just
Man,
finished Thor.
and now we got Thor. Yeah.
Continuing our Nerdathon Marvel Moviethon review leading up to the Avengers. What's the word so far in these three movies?
I mean, solid. I mean, they just Thor. We did a review. If you want to check out the links. But like, again, just to go back. I mean, just a lot of fun. Really, I can't believe Branagh directed like such a good action movie. Like again, like Jon Favreau directed a good action movie, and so did Kenneth Branagh. It's just weird to me.
I was really impressed with the first half of this because I haven't seen it since it came out, and just like a lot of the camera work, the angles, there's that one great shot when we first come to Thor's home, and there's like this swooping. It goes over the mountains and it like zooms under. It goes through the ocean. It comes up the other
especially
side.
in the 3D. And it should be known, we are front row center. Of 3D.
We are super the front row. We are the front row
It's
of dead
almost
center.
like IMAX level, like that much in the movie. It's crazy.
And like maybe in 2D it seems a little more annoying or you don't want it, but combine it with the 3D and we can't see the edges. It's totally IMAX. We kind of felt like we were flying a little bit.
Yeah, it was
in
pretty
that
good.
opening sequence.
And I'm not even that high.
Right, that high? Caffeine, a little coffee high going on.
Yes.
It seems that we'll go with Thor first since it's the most recent movie we've seen today.
Yeah.
So you were saying you still have the feeling, the whole Natalie Portman thing, you're not a big fan
Garbage.
of?
I mean, it doesn't. There's no reason for it, and this is funny to joke about, but it's like it's not realistic. You know what I mean? We're talking about
Right.
Norse gods, we're talking about Asgard and superheroes,
Yeah.
but we're talking about there's a realism within that reality.
Right.
which is the reality of human motivation, the reality of behavior, and of you don't fall in love with someone that you were just hanging out with over a campfire overnight. You don't. It's not love. Now, like, especially Thor, who's probably been getting the royal tang his entire life, just knocking it out left and, she is totally wet for him. Like, that's just obvious. Like, she's just, when she kisses him, it's like he kisses her hair and then she's like practically rapes him. You know what I mean? Right there on the landing site.
So it's directed really well, and I think as characters they bring that to life, but just kind of sitting back and being like, would Thor really kind of be into this?
And I think Thor actually would probably be like kind of leading her, leading her on, like totally bang her and ditch her. You know what I mean? Well, pull a Tony on her, so to speak.
Well, I'm kind of feeling like I almost want to go and just edit this movie and cut out all the Earth. I just want to see, for the most part, because the Earth is comic relief.
The Earth is where the humor comes.
Well, see, that's the thing, but it's almost like Transformers were and very much like Green Lantern, because this kind of has a very similar style as Green Lantern, where there's the in-space stuff of him learning to be Green Lantern, but then there's the stuff on Earth, and all the stuff on Earth is funny and comedic, and all this stuff in space is more dramatic and mythological and with like the major storyline.
Right.
Here we have a great 30 minutes on Asgard, right? And the whole thing with the king and the father and the son. I love in the beginning when they're young. And I think they kind of missed a moment where both of them should have tried to pick the hammer up as kids. And Thor was the one that got it, and we get a reaction from the young Loki that he's not chosen, and obviously we're going to know why, because he's not really an Asgardian or whatever.
Which is a side note, that was all the plot machinations with Loki were just ridiculous. And
it's kind of classic Shakespeare, I guess, kind of drama.
Right, but he's an ice giant, but he looks normal? Why is that? And again, I'm sorry, I'm totally interrupted.
Go for it.
Well, first of all, if the Asgardians possess Death Star technology,
right.
which is what the Rainbow apparently is, apparently it can just destroy planets anytime they want.
Right.
You'd think that would have been brought into account more. And then why do they not want to destroy the ice planet then? It seems like they talk about it because they're innocent, but they seem like just a bunch of evil ice giants.
Well, it's the wise Odin. He knows he doesn't want to destroy.
Are there like villages of friendly, peaceful ice giants that we don't see? And then
we just see the mean ones.
I guess,
Definitely could have been explored.
And then was the plan to get the ice giant king up there so Loki could kill him in front of his father the entire time?
That seems the whole.
Or did he ad hoc that at the end?
It seems like, again, like you were saying, he's the trickster god, right? So he's the guy who's kind of like... I liked early on where you see how when he's talking to Thor, he's the one who really convinces him to go to the planet, right?
That's true, and he does convince him in the shield and on Earth. He does lie effectively sometimes. That's true.
But it's almost he didn't know he was one of the Avatar people until he until he went there with Thor and they fought and the guy touched him.
Right.
So I guess his earlier plan to make Thor kind of a disgrace was just because he was jealous as a brother that he wasn't going to be king, right?
Which that whole opening, Thor couldn't have been more of a douchebag.
Yeah, he was great as a big D-bag.
I mean, he should have been wearing a huge, just I have hubris.
Just like when he's winking at everyone.
Right.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so here's the big suggestion I would have here is that Odin sends him to Earth because he's not yet ready mentally and spiritually to be a king. Right. Because he's too much hubris.
Right, yes.
So he banishes him to this planet because obviously he knows all the realms.
Right.
He picks this one because he's going to teach him something. Teach him how to be more of a king.
Right.
And it didn't come through in terms of him going through any strife on Earth. Because he gets banished, and what's the first thing he does? I'm hungry. I want more coffee.
Well, the first thing he does is kick some doctor's asses and then gets stuck with the I am the mighty, and then gets stabbed with the syringe.
Which is great comedy.
Hilarious. Yeah.
But sometimes comedy can replace real drama.
I disagree. The Earth stuff was the most entertaining part of this. Was the juxtaposition when they have when his friends arrive, the Renaissance fair is in town, giving an APB on Jackie Chan, Xena, and Robin Hood. I mean,
it's totally entertaining. I agree, and comedic and all that. But the continuity of emotion and what's going on with the character, you just get banished. All your stuff's been taken away. You're like a kid whose dad just took everything that you love away, and you wake up on Earth. And none of that's carried over right away.
But it does sink in once he can't pick up his hammer. That's where it sinks in for him.
It seems
he doesn't really, I guess it hasn't sunk in yet because he's like, I'll just get my hammer, everything will be fine.
Yeah, so it's like we have a half hour and then the first half of Act 2, up until he gets the hammer, it's kind of just, let's do comedy and cutesy stuff. Kat Dennings is hilarious
there.
The character's totally fun.
Yeah.
Then the hammer is the next really connective moment to what happened with his father banishing him.
Right.
Then he starts to get it like, oh, I'm a douchebag and I gotta stop my
Right,
ways.
and then Loki comes and like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm a real douchebag.
Yeah.
Like,
Then Loki does his thing. And then him kind of doing the sacrifice with the Day the Earth Stood Still monster. It's okay, but it seems forced. It's like he didn't earn it again, you know? I kind of wish there was more continuity in earning it.
yeah, I can understand that.
So, but this was super funny. A lot of like good laughs, good character reactions.
yeah, just really entertaining. They're lucky Stellan Skarsgård exists because, like,
Yeah, go into this. You were talking about
There's
this.
like this whole thing with like he's like these are stories Mjolnir and Thor and the Rainbow Bridge. These are stories from my childhood. So
Right.
it's like they need who's a Norse actor.
Right,
Like,
right.
like, we need somebody. Isn't there a Steven Skarsgård, something like that? Isn't there?
Holy cow, they're starting.
yes.
They're already going with Captain America. Okay, so that was Thor, and we're going to
Captain America.
We'll see after Captain America. And we've had the last teaser at the end of the credits for the Avengers. So we just finished up Captain America.
The crowd is pumped. People are applauding everything.
You just throw anything up on the screen.
And then,
Well, you know, everyone's been camping out. It's been 12 hours.
It's a really fun atmosphere, actually. We're just talking about how, like, we've got this microphone, like, it's like we got people have Subway, and like everyone's just kind of hanging out and doing their thing and just going from seat to seat. And the poor theater people, what do they make? Like minimum wage? They don't pay enough to deal with this.
Yeah,
You
there's
know?
not like a full staff on right now, or by any means.
Yeah, exactly. They're just like, whatever, let the nerds take over.
Just let
and
them
the
have their
nerds have taken over.
This
definitely.
is a totally invasion right here.
Yeah.
Instead of Hydra, it's a Nerdra.
Of
going
one
on right
head,
now.
two more will grow its place.
So,
Captain America, let's get
what's
down.
the word?
All right,
Yeah.
so here's what you said. This is your favorite of them.
I think out of the 5 movies we've watched, close to Iron Man. Like I really enjoyed the pacing, the attitude, like the fun, the style, and I like the character. I think this was definitely the best love story for the main characters. I really liked the tension, the dynamic there. Tommy Lee Jones really had a great role here. The montaging towards the end, or in the middle, where it's like now all of a sudden let's just blow up all these Hydra bases. It kind of skips over a lot of conflict. Because I think I feel like the Red Skull was really underused as a main villain. He had a lot of potential, and they kind of just grazed over him a little bit too much. I don't know, there's just something about the fun of this that I think I like it the best out of all the movies. That
Hands down, my least favorite.
Ooh,
hands
wow.
down.
All right, we rarely disagree, so
right.
this is gonna be
one
fun.
of the only ones I actually did not really enjoy all that much.
Okay.
It didn't have the humor of the other ones. It didn't have the excitement of the other ones. It didn't have the good action scenes of the other ones.
Okay.
And more to the point, it didn't have an interesting hero. Not every hero has to be dark and tortured like Batman.
Right.
Not every hero has to have a severe personality problem like Tony Stark.
Right.
You know, like Bruce Banner's kind of mild-mannered. You know,
Yeah.
and it's okay to have a goody two-shoes hero, but he's so milquetoast and he's so just like Mr. Do-Good, and just like, so it's like Captain Gumption and the
Right.
multi-ethnic fighting squad with here's the limey and the Frenchman and the black guy and fighting Oriental. And
Right, right.
It's just all just ridiculous.
I mean, I think part of it is it's set in the 40s, and it tries to capture that mentality. I think in the 40s, people were a little more trusting, a little more, we'll believe in Uncle Sam, and not that cynicism wasn't there.
It is mirroring that, definitely. It definitely was like using that tone of that kind of can-do and like very straightforward, very like a pulpy like kind of.
Yeah,
and so I
almost
get
like
that.
the newsreels where
Right.
it's like, look at little Timmy helping out.
Right.
You know, and I think it was just, that's the thing it's going for, and I really love the Stanley Tucci as the scientist
Yes,
guy,
that was
and their
great.
relationship. You know, it's very much like Uncle Ben and Peter Parker, where like, make sure you stay the good guy,
Right.
because this formula amplifies. So, you know, that little scene with the grenades is a nice touch.
Oh, that was a good touch, and I do agree. Tommy Lee Jones was at his probably Tommy Lee Jonesiest.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this was 1,000% Tommy Lee Jones. Like his pure concentration of pure, every doghouse, hen house, outhouse in a 2-mile radius. Grumpy old. He's great. He's great. He's my favorite part.
Yeah, I think as an origin, like, first 30, 40 minutes here are really tight. Like, I just really enjoy the whole, like, he's the guy everyone's rejecting, he gets a shot, he chases the guy, captures him, up until that, like, end of the first act. When he starts kind of becoming like Captain America sell war bonds, It's all right. It's entertaining.
That was a cute thing. I like how they do it. That was like a PR thing. That was a really good direction to take it. I liked when he was tracing the guy down. When he gets out. I like how there's a part where he's running. He hasn't like been comfortable with his own body yet, and like he flies out of control, like just runs into a store.
Yeah.
Well, that's my thing though. Is that yes, he's got superpowers. He does not have soldier training. He is not a soldier.
Well, I mean,
it's like if you gave you or me superpowers. Yeah, we could like run and probably beat people up, but like, that's different than leading people into combat. You know what I mean?
I just 100% agree. I mean, I guess you could argue like maybe his intelligence was advanced, so we didn't see some moments of him like really just Matrix downloading and learning something quick. You know.
Again, this is very nitpicky. It's a comic book movie, and you should overlook that kind of stuff. I get that, but here's my other thing with Captain America too. This is just a complaint with the kid. If he loses his shield.
Yeah.
That, like his big weakness is it getting wedged between, or like, you know, just dropping it somewhere.
Yeah.
Like that's he's like it's what they say is enough vibranium for the one shield only.
You get these super Nazi soldiers with this hyper technology,
right?
But they just get mowed down like no problem.
Right.
You know, in terms of the Red Skull and his army, it's kind of the whole thing with any of these, even Thor going through like all the highly trained shield agents to get to the hammer.
Right.
In his humanized form, he can still do that. Like, you made my agents look like a bunch of, wannabes or mall cops.
Yeah.
Well, didn't Odin take away his powers? Shouldn't he not be so strong?
Oh yeah, no, he's just a big dude with that can kick ass. That's the thing, though.
Yeah.
He's still like a fighter. He's still a warrior. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'm not a fan of these movies. Like, it's so easy for like the henchmen to get defeated or just mowed down.
That's every movie, though. I don't know.
I know. Hopefully, Whedon, he loves to turn cliches on their heads. So hopefully he'll be like, listen.
I would like to see one where the henchman like just does some serious ass kicking like out of nowhere. Well, they did that. Like I made a joke of that in Austin Powers in the outtakes.
Yes.
Remember that where the guy just got cut to his family at home.
Yeah, and this did have like an Austin Power Dr. Evil at the end and a big boy escaping. Kind of when Red Skull escapes the exploding base. I just wish they would have just calmed down the Red Skull. Like, stop this whole montage of blowing up 50 bases. Let's just have like one mission that he's going on and have Red Skull be more of a force. They really missed an opportunity there. But so I totally get like it's very goody two shoey, and Captain America, he's just a dude who took some steroids.
Yeah.
So he's like the most uninteresting
and that is the thing
personalities.
Is how do you turn him into an interesting? It's really interesting to see how Whedon plays with him, bouncing him off the other characters. Right. I think Stark especially, they're going to get into definitely a lot of personality conflicts.
Right.
Again, I don't want to come off like I'm so anti having a character that's just good.
Right.
He is. That's his. He's just a really stand-up good guy. Like I get that, and that's cool. But it's also just, I don't know. It wasn't as entertaining as the other one was. When I come to these movies,
you did laugh. You were laughing though.
There were parts. There were parts that Yes, I'm not saying the whole thing was. I'm saying it was a bad movie.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it was unwatchable or that any of that stuff.
Right.
But I'm just saying that of the series so far, including Hulk, and Hulk, we'll get to. Like I liked Hulk. I liked Hulk a lot. I really enjoyed Hulk. So.
I think as a character, this movie was the best out of capturing a character's journey from beginning to end. He doesn't really change. I mean, he stays the good guy.
I disagree with that. He doesn't have a journey at all. What journey? He's a good guy that all of a sudden now has the body to do what he wanted to do.
Right.
And he dies. He commits a suicide mission. He dies a hero.
Right.
Like all those good things, which is great. Good for him. But like it's not. There's no arc. There is no journey for him.
I think he maintains it, and he holds true to his beliefs, and he lets his beliefs inform his actions all consistently.
Yeah.
And like I think Thor's journey is a little bit rushed. Where now at the end he's like with Odin. I see. I wasn't ready to become the king.
It was very rushed.
And it was
rushed, it was a little.
know.
Yeah, exactly.
Bruce Banner, does he really have one? I mean, he wants to not be the Hulk. And does he really need one?
He's not. Yeah, his is not really a journey so much as I think of a man that suffers, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, that can't control, and that's a whole other thing.
I mean, I think I like the Marvel Universe a lot because like Stan Lee and all the creators, they let the superheroes personify different aspects of humanity. And the Hulk is this angry, uncontrolled. There's some kind of announcement going on in the background right now. I think there's a quiz going on right now, and they're giving away some Avengers stuff. The Hulk, does he really need one? I mean, he's pure id or pure just rage personified, right?
Well, his journey is him trying to control himself.
Yeah.
He wants it out. He wants it completely excised. And by the end of the movie, he's trying to control it.
Yeah.
So
I think
can he use it? And that's...
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the Incredible Hulk, this version, you know, it's definitely more of, like you were saying earlier, the superhero-y, action-y version.
Well, yeah, this is much more the Taco Bell crossover, like, you know, sell some products, put some things on plastic cups and sell them kind of thing.
Right.
But it's fun. It's a very enjoyable action movie. It's a very enjoyable, it's a good, I love the way. My favorite part of Incredible Hulk is the way, should we hold?
That's fun.
One last question. Sorry. When was the Avengers first published as a Marvel comic book?
1963.
Who said that?
Ooh, wow. Woo! Nicely done. That was a good question. Yeah, knowledge. 1963.
Nerd power activates.
That was.
Yeah,
He didn't
that's
even
solid. He didn't
hesitate.
hesitate. Boom, on it. Really cool thing about the Hulk is the way they encapsulate. It's like the Ang Lee movie existed in the sense of like, all right, we got the origin story out of the way.
Right.
That was the origin story. We're not going to really reference it, but if you missed it, here's the catch up in the first opening credits. Boom. Here's the laboratory accident. Here's what happened. Here's him killing people. Here's him running away. Here's the general chasing after him and trying to find him and not being able to find him anywhere. So it's a really good boom, and we're caught up.
Okay, yeah.
Really succinct, really smart storytelling.
Totally,
you know?
totally. Just like boom, boom.
Yeah, and I love, they play with all kinds of little things like, you know, don't make me hungry, you wouldn't like me when I'm hungry. It was very funny.
Okay.
You know, they play around, and then, but then the really great, like, opening chase sequence through over the rooftops of Brazil. Really well shot.
Yeah.
Like, really just like, and no Hulk, just Edward Norton, you know, just
a Born Identity-ish.
Very Born Identity-ish. Yeah, and really, again, well shot. And then you get the thing with the Hulk in the warehouse, in the soda bottling plant. And just hinted, just shadows.
Just very visual, nice shadows.
And then explosion, and then boom, just you see the effects.
Yeah.
You know, like a good monster movie. You don't see the monster right away. You see just what she's doing, the effects of it.
Right.
You know, it's just Bruce Banner is such a suffering human being. Like this is not, and like the Hulk isn't necessarily like a superhero even. It's this monster.
Yeah.
You know, it is this monster. Like it only becomes a superhero in the sense of like at the end when they kind of turn it loose on Abomination, which is ridiculous. It's a horrible plan where Edward Norton's like all of a sudden, I'll just turn into the Hulk and I'll fight this guy. And they're like, and General's like,
he jumps out of the plane and he hopes he's going to transform into him.
And then he doesn't, and then he smashes in the ground and that transforms him. Which is like, okay, I guess, like sure, angry. Sudden impact from like 1,000 feet, either one, you know. It's like,
and it's a long battle, like him and Abomination.
It's a good battle. It's a good long battle.
Yeah. So I mean, it's quality action, which is what the big complaints versus the Ang Lee version were.
Yes.
That it took forever. Everyone's waiting for him to Hulk out.
And then he's fighting the dogs, which kind of sucked. And
and the CGI at that time was a little bit cheesy.
I will say this: him running across the desert is beautiful.
It's
with lyrical,
him big
like
leaps
it's gorgeous. Like I don't know, that like really touches me, like on an emotional level.
And that was one of the powers in the comics that they kind of like highlighted. So it has its moments, you know? Okay, and then Iron Man 2 pretty much continued Iron Man 1. Enriched the universe, introduced Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, right?
Yep, right, which is...
What'd you think overall of that second in Iron Man 2? Don Cheadle replacing Terrence Howard.
We talked about this, you know.
We have a full review for it.
Again, like Terrence Howard, like it was funny, John's like, I love Terrence Howard. I mean, I wasn't really aware anyone had any strong feelings on Terrence Howard, positive or negative. Okay, you know, it's like he's Terrence Howard, he's fine. And like, okay, I love Don Cheadle. Yeah. But there's only so much you can do with that. It had the same problem for me that I had with Iron Man 1, which is anytime they have the mask up, like seeing Don Cheadle in the War Machine outfit, it just looks weird.
It's a weird
image, you know?
Because he's more kind of like the cool cat, like, you know, and in the roles that he's in, you don't associate him with like an ass kicker.
No, you don't.
I mean, Terrence Howard, I don't know if he kind of fit. I don't know.
But regardless,
right.
It's kind of goofy.
And then Mickey Rourke is, you know, Whiplash. I guess they needed some kind of bad guy for that, right?
Again, it's my main thing with Iron Man 2 is I love Tony Stark. I love his. They just bring back more of him. Great, him doing Robert Downey Jr. doing the Tony Stark thing. Yeah. They've got Sam Rockwell, who is hilarious.
He's always a scene stealer. He's great in that
Every scene
one.
he's in, just makes me so happy every time he's on the screen.
Yeah.
When he's doing that little dance when he's like standing on the award stage.
Right.
That just cracks me up every time. And then, and good action. I mean, plot holes aplenty, but like, and the toothpick that just keeps appearing, never knowing where he is.
Well, and there's a nice tie-in. Captain America, now that we've seen it here, and all the movies, it finishes up the tie-ins where we have like Howard Stark
Right.
doing what Tony Stark did with like the little show at the World Fair.
I did like the Howard Stark character. I thought it
And
was
that
really...
actor did a really good job with
Yeah,
him, right?
yeah.
You know, we get to see kind of like the genesis of all that.
Right.
It's really rewarding that it's all kind of coming together.
Which is an amazing thing through all these films. They managed to stitch together a consistent narrative. So just before we get going, it's going to start in about 5 minutes.
We got
Looks
5
like.
minutes
have
till
5
Avengers
minutes.
starts.
But one thing I wanted to note is how it's a small complaint, but how they try to shoehorn in, like, Hulk was really bad at this, where Hulk did 3 separate occasions where like they're interviewing the kid on the video on campus, like he was this big thing like this Hulk, and then because like is that really a noun you use to describe things like without reference to the comic book? Like,
right.
And then when the scientist says to Tim Roth, it could turn you into an abomination. and then the worst part, then he goes like, do you have any last words? Hulk smash! And then they did it in Iron Man 2 with what you look like you're some kind of war machine, and then they did it in Thor with so the mighty Thor is sitting on he's gonna fall or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I'm trying
and
to
here when he's rescuing the guys from Hydra's hideout. Who are you? I'm Captain America. Let's talk about where each character's at. It seems that Captain America might have the most room. Now it might be an arc for him now.
He's the most interesting character now, actually. Yes.
Because he's in the future.
Totally man out of all his loved ones are dead.
Yeah.
Everyone,
And now America's even changed too.
America's
because that was
changed
ho-hum Uncle Sam. And if Whedon doesn't shy away from capturing post 9/11 America, global world coming together, and kind of where we're iPod and all that kind of stuff, it could be interesting to see what old Americana now is affected by current 21st century.
21st century.
The Hulk, Bruce Banner is going to pretty much be where he's at, right? He wants to not be the Hulk,
or I mean, somehow control it,
be able to control it.
Yeah.
Thor seems like he's had his journey.
Yeah.
Now he's recognized he's not this cocky, like, guy, I know it all kind of thing.
He's got a little bit of humility, a little bit of his hubris has been dealt with a little bit.
And he told S.H.I.E.L.D., he's like, hey, you have my...
So if anyone's in the most dangerous situation, it's Tony Stark.
Okay.
He's still an ass.
Yeah.
Tony Stark is still a prick, which I love him. God bless him.
He hasn't changed too much.
He hasn't changed at all.
He's kind of...
In fact, in the second one, he was slipping towards alcoholism, So here's my prediction going into it, which is knowing Joss Whedon, being a huge Joss Whedon fan, I would not be completely surprised if one of the Avengers, probably Hawkeye, dies. Or possibly Nick Fury. Because here's my rationale. Not to be a huge spoiler, but if you're a Joss in every major series, Buffy, Dollhouse, and Angel, and Firefly, everyone dies. Someone you love dies. Some important member of the team dies, and always comes out of nowhere. Okay. That's his thing. That's his. If there's a cliche that it's not a
Joss Whedon cliche.
It's a Joss Whedon cliche. It's that everything's going wonderfully, and you're all happy, and like, oh, the danger's past, and now we're into good times, and boom, someone's dead.
Yeah. Okay. Just hold on.
That happens in every Joss Whedon property.
That's a bold.
And obviously not going to kill off any of the majors. And I think Scarlett Johansson did get inked to another. She's going to appear in another property.
Yeah.
I think I saw that. So it's got to be either Hawkeye or Nick Fury.
Okay. That would be a fun little twist. And that would be very ballsy.
Very ballsy. And it's, again, I don't think it's probably, because it's a major Hollywood piece, it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, but
if someone wanted to give me odds.
Okay. If anyone would do it, it would be Joss.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. All right. Okay, and then the Scarlett Johansson Black Widow. I'm not super excited about her character. She's like the classic Russian Cold War spy, hot girl.
The comic book is when she's not Russian in the movies at all.
Yeah, so that's like her origin.
Josh is always very good with strong female leads. He does work.
Buffy, Dollhouse.
Right, even Angel, they'll be able to get some female presences.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if anyone was going to do anything interesting with Black Widow, it would be him.
This experience has gone by really quick, hasn't it?
It really has. It's been, I thought, because you were talking about when's the last time you did like kind of like a pay for one and kind of go from theater to theater. Yeah. And I'm trying. It hasn't like 2, I think, maybe 2, maybe 3 in a row. Yeah. Let alone the all day.
And it's been cool to have a bunch of people who are excited about a movie.
Yeah.
Just come and celebrate it, and like every movie's ended with applause.
Yeah. It's almost like a festival atmosphere.
It's totally
like, yeah. It's like nerd stock.
nerd stock. This might be also something that who knows, for Batman or any other kind of movie where there's multiple installments. This could be a nice, fun little thing that could get started. And, let's hope that Loki provides a solid.
That is that's the biggest the biggest worry going in is again just watching Thor again, only reminding me.
All right. So we got the countdown.
All right, and
movie nerds,
assemble.
Assemble. See you after the show. Preview's coming up. Let's just very quickly. We'll just do a quick. What's the overall story? The overall story.
Do we
here
have
is
to?
that-
Like, I don't know.
it's like you just want to get into describing what it is, but it's pretty much been set up with all the after-credit teasers of the previous five films and the preview. So it's basically Loki now. He's been banished, or he decided to banish himself at the end of Thor, right? He fell into outer space. Some kind of weird creature, lizard race with metal helmets. We don't get their full story. It's not a big deal that we don't. Basically save him or agree to an alliance with him. And they want
The
Tesseract in exchange for giving their army to him so he can take over Earth and be king somewhere.
Yeah.
Basically.
Basically.
And that's the setup. So...
And we get this opening. We get this opening thing where we kind of check in with each hero. We find out where they're at and everything, you know. And we get slowly introduced to the world.
You mentioned again before it started that someone's gonna die or there's gonna be an unexpected thing, and right away from the beginning, Nick Fury gets shot.
And I'm like, no, too soon though.
Too soon,
because that's not the point. Yeah, that's the whole thing though. Is that Josh? I keep referring to him like I know the guy. So, but you know, he establishes dramatic tension. He establishes a relationship with the character, and then once you're calm and you think you're in a good place, that's when the hammer comes down. And yeah, I should have known. Like I knew it was going to be a major character, but it was.
You did call it.
I did call it, but it was the agent, whatever his name is, the guy. But that we've grown to love because we've seen him in every single one of these movies.
Phil Coulson.
Yeah, Agent Coulson. He's been in every single one of these movies. He's starting to. He got great personality. We're starting to really like him. We're starting to really get some good comedic relief from him. He's that great little thing with Captain America where he's fawning all over him and
that's something that's been missing for him throughout previous movies. And leave it to Mr. Whedon to finally give him a little bit of a quirky little side where he's got this thing for Captain America.
Yeah.
And there's that great moment where he's like, I was watching you when you were sleeping. I was there while you were unconscious.
Yeah.
And it's like it just keeps making it worse and worse. Oh, and there was like this moment where it almost was like they were kind of like foreshadowing it by giving him a little more character emotion, because Pepper Potts likes him a lot. She's like, oh, hey, Phil, how's it going? And then Tony Stark's like, oh, now it's Phil. You know?
Yeah.
So
you look back on it, you can see they're trying to definitely give him a little more personality. Yeah.
Give him some moments so that when his death hit, like then the team is affected and then we're affected at the same time. What do you think overall, balancing all the different superheroes in one movie?
I mean, again, that's another thing that was so difficult to pull off. This was not an easy thing to do. I mean, he has all these different major characters with each their own individual character arcs, plot arcs, and conflicts that have to be dealt with, and he handles them all.
Right.
And he even handles characters that shouldn't be that interesting. Hawkeye and Black Widow should not be that interesting, and Black Widow was awesome.
I was not a Black Widow believer going into this. I'm like, she's all right.
Yeah.
She was just definitely a standout.
And again, like we said, we were afraid that Loki wouldn't be a good villain. The scene between her and Loki, when he called, we want to go see it again just to catch all the dialogue and all the he talks about how he's going to kill Hawkeye. He's going to have Hawkeye kill her, and then wake Hawkeye up long enough to know he did it, and then he calls like a mewling little Quim or something, like horrible.
Yeah, like you would sacrifice your world just for one person, and then he just totally disrespects her. And I think the story that she tells him seems real.
Yeah.
And she just kind of used that, and then we get a nice little view of what her skill set is, and that she's good at kind of getting information that way. And then she smiles and it's like, oh, Loki, who thinks he's like this master manipulator, he just got manipulated.
Yeah.
You know, the tables were turned on him, and it's like, oh, that was very nicely done. And that his plan is to get the Hulk, because they go aboard, and Whedon did another great thing where he gave us set pieces we haven't seen before, so we get the flying aircraft carrier.
Yep, which is from S.H.I.E.L.D. That's in the books? Yeah, that's from S.H.I.E.L.D. But
is that kind of like the S.H.I.E.L.D. base? Like
there's the S.H.I.E.L.D. base,
like the cloaked Klingon warlord base kind of thing?
Yep.
Okay. This is a good example of, like, if you don't know anything about anything, you're going to enjoy this movie.
Exactly.
It was interesting because before the movie, they showed the Dark Knight Rises trailer. And we were talking about how somber and different in tone it is. So the tone here was a lot more fun, right? Completely
180 degrees different. Fun, lighthearted. They are similar in that they are both character-driven superhero blockbuster movies,
Right.
where they work so well because of the characters behind them and the story behind them. And Dark Knight, it's a dark story. It's somber. It is a man and revenge and their parents' death and weight and guilt and justice and the city's sins and him carrying those. And here, everyone's got their issues. They got their stuff, but it's a lot more fun.
I can't remember the last time. I mean, it was this much fun.
Yeah.
Like, Kick-Ass was a lot of fun. Cabin in the Woods was a lot of fun. The Raid Redemption was a lot of fun.
But this
just captured. There was like a joy in like, it's getting the story right, it's getting characters right, and it's getting the jokes and just making us feel like we're having just a good time.
And getting the action right and getting everything we want to be, it's giving us, and then it's giving us more. It's surprising us.
Yes.
That's it, is that we shouldn't have been. It's so hard to be surprised as a movie audience these days. We're so. Everything's cliche. We've seen things so many times that even like amazing effects, it's still hard to really show me something I've never seen before.
Right.
And not just visually, but storytelling.
Yes.
And then we can do all those things together. Especially in something that should be limited, like a superhero, that has constraints put around it of a blockbuster movie.
Right.
To do it in that context.
Yeah, and to do it with characters that have been established for 40, 50, 60 years.
And 5 movies ahead of him. And 5 other movies with their own narratives and their own scripts and their own separate directors and separate writers.
Yeah, and you made a great point that it really felt like the first Iron Man was the template of here's kind of the tone, here's the style that the following Marvel movies are going to go for. But this one really feels like it took that, but then it was Whedon as a filmmaker saying, here's kind of my stamp on it, and here's my voice added to this.
And then talk about the ultimate voice, and we get the little, the post-media credit shot of, it was Thanos. I conferred with some comic book guys outside.
It is
Thanos.
Okay.
But we stuck around, because
You never leave this kind of movie till the credits are done. And the film
the lights are on. And sure enough, what is the last post-credit scene? It's all of the Avengers in a burnt-down burger joint from the attack, munching on burgers and fries, and so beaten up and sullen. And Mark Ruffalo almost loses it.
Yeah.
But then
Chris
Hemsworth totally sells it. He looks so morose and so beaten up. He takes this deep breath, and he lifts up takes a giant bite of his burger, and it's like. And that's it. That's how it ends. I mean, he keeps the scene going for almost too long. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's at least. I mean, it borders on like 2 minutes.
Yeah, because it keeps going. It's just them just sitting there.
No one's really looking at each other.
Yeah, because they're wiped out. Because if you just got done with that kind of fight,
what's the first thing you would do? You gotta get something to eat.
You got something to eat. You gotta get something to eat.
And in the background, the owner's like sweeping up the place.
Right.
It's all disheveled and glasses everywhere. And that's another great example of Whedon, where we expect even some kind of serious, here's more of a cliffhanger. But no, he's going to spin it. He's going to
give us, what we don't expect, which is
keep it real.
And again, he does. Again, we talk about keeping it real. That's why I said before in the Cabin in the Woods review. He respects the reality of the fiction that he has created.
Right.
It's like, yes, we are operating in a superhuman world with Norse gods and, super suits and aliens, all this stuff, but there is the reality of how people behave.
Right.
That is not made up. That comes out of character. That comes out of people's personal drives. And he gets that, man. And that's why his movies are his TV shows, whatever it is, are always so fun, is he gives you that contrast.
Right.
He puts that in front of you and says, yeah, if you had superpowers, this is how you would react, probably.
Exactly.
Again, that dialogue. Just that one scene where Iron Man comes on the bridge and just like boom, rapid fire, just joke. The thing about, he says to Hulk about like, how do you keep so calm? Like a big bag of pot?
Yeah.
Whatever. I can't remember. Like so many lines, so many great lines.
He just comes out rapid firing. Like Iron Man or Tony Stark really steals the show for the first little bit of this movie.
Yes.
Like, as soon as he comes in, he's just like every line out of his mouth is just like a quick wit joke. And everything's funny that he says.
Yeah.
And it's just awesome. It's like, it feels so good to have him back in the movie. Him and Pepper Potts, it feels like Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
Towards the second half, when the Hulk starts
when it gets more
over,
action-oriented, then it's the Hulk show.
Yeah.
We were joking in the beginning about how the glasses, all they had left was the Hulk.
Yeah.
Because no one loves the Hulk, because the Hulk is like the kind of the lamest of the franchises, kind of. I'm sorry, the Hulk stole the show. The Hulk was amazing. Again, that's because the technology is finally, but also because you get an auteur, someone that knows what to do with it.
Yeah. And Ruffalo's performance was pretty decent.
It was really good. It was really good. It was. I mean, talk about gravitas. Also about how, like, man, when they ask him how he's able to contain the monster. First of all, the revelation that he tried to blow his own brains out but couldn't because he turned into the Hulk and the Hulk
too
spit
quick
out.
And he spit out the bullet.
I mean, that. Wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, and then it reveals how he's able to keep it under control. Is that how he keeps from being angry? He's always angry.
There's not really anything you can bad about this movie. I guess there's a couple. You know, if you want to get nitpicky, not to just try to find something. There's an earlier scene when they're on the floating shield base, where the Hulk is there, and Loki has purposely, in kind of a Joker Dark Knight way, purposely put himself in captivity.
Right.
And it's learned, you know, through that great scene with Black Widow and Loki that he's there because he wants to unleash the Hulk.
Right, and basically just tear up the whole ship and tear up the whole team.
Yeah, help destroy it. And it kind of seems like the Hulk can't control it. Like, he can't decide when to become the Hulk, and when he's the Hulk, he doesn't have any consciousness in terms of
right. It's just mindless rage, right?
But then later, when the city's attacking me, there's that funny scene when he shows up on the bike. Then he's like, "Oh, I'm always angry," and he just turns into the Hulk really quick.
And then seems like he has control. But then he seems like, because even when they make the joke about how last time he turned, he destroyed Harlem. What's the good line? Yeah, it seems like he tied to the general, like, just point me. He's like maybe I can be used as point me in the direction. Yeah. And like a weapon, just kind of like let it loose.
Sure.
So here it definitely seemed like he had more conscious control to a certain extent.
Right.
Which would be in the comic books, I guess.
Yeah. So it's just like
that's a minor.
It's a super minor.
Super minor. Super nitpicky. But and again, not all the jokes hits, not all the dialogue was super sparkling, but I
mean, like
98%.
There was so much laughter. It was such a funny movie.
Yeah.
Like that, I wasn't expecting that. I know Whedon usually brings, even Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
He's like got 2 hits within a month. It's amazing in terms of
quality. Hits and art
quality, like, still quality. You know, it was that funny, and it stayed within the characters. Because sometimes you can go for a laugh and it doesn't seem like it's right for the characters.
That's the first thing they talk about in any. You know, we're from Chicago, World of Second City, Improv Olympic. The first thing you teach you in any of those classes, the humor only works if it comes from inside. If it comes from the situation, from the characters. Not for the cheapest thing you can go is go for the cheap laugh, and because that shatters the illusion of what you're doing.
Yeah, and when Stark shows up on the bridge, he just starts rattling up because he's so smart. He like sees what everyone's doing.
Yeah, and
he starts rattling off what everyone's doing, and he just makes this little comment of like, that guy's playing Galaga.
Oh my god, yeah,
and you just like, you laugh at it, you're like, okay, whatever that was, and then the scene ends,
and it comes back to the guy, and he looks around, does a check to make sure no one's looking, and goes back to playing Galaga,
and then it comes back,
and it's hilarious. It's hilarious.
That might have been one of the biggest laughs. That and when the Hulk started beating Loki, those laughs were ridiculously loud.
And when he punches Thor,
those three just. Yeah, and just those unexpected, just nice little turn, and it totally fit with that. That's what Tony Stark would see and say, and
and Josh respects that in this high-tech world. Like any office job,
right?
When the boss isn't looking, you're playing Minesweeper or Solitaire or
Words with
Galaga.
Friends or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
It was good too that gave everyone kind of like this dark moment. I think one of my favorite scenes was when the spear, right? Because the spear had that the Tesseract kind of crystal in it.
Yeah.
And it seemed like through that, Loki was able to influence them to kind of fight with each other.
That was his mind control thing.
Yeah, he was mind controlling them. And within that scene, when they're arguing, they each reveal what the flaw and fear they all have, and then like slowly they all start to argue with each other.
Yeah.
And like they start listing why they don't trust each other.
Yeah.
And what their problem is. Like when Captain America says to Tony Stark, "You don't have your suit on.
Right.
What are you without the suit?"
It's like you came from a bottle.
Yeah, you only fight for yourself.
Was that great line? I'm a billionaire philanthropist playboy. You know, it's like genius. You know, it's like.
And they all start going in terms of kind of, here's what I'm fearing. Even the Hulk's like, oh, you're just gonna capture me or put me in like a lab or something like that. So they all start doing that, and it's just great through conflict and through Loki influencing them. We reveal kind of what their fears are.
But it's not control though. It's not mind control. This is what they're thinking. This is what's going on in them.
But it seems to be kind of heightened because Loki wants to unleash the Hulk. And slowly he starts to kind of, get angry from that
pull the
point.
pull the threads.
And that's the stuff that Whedon brought here, where he kind of recognized what it was in all the previous films that these characters had kind of deep down. And I think one of the best moments for Stark is that he's willing to be like, okay, I'm going to risk going into the other dimension and delivering this nuclear bomb at the end, and maybe I'm going to die.
It's a possible suicide mission.
Yeah.
It's the first real moment from either of the Iron Man movies that he really, really puts himself in serious danger, where, like, the emotion behind it. There's actual emotion behind it, you know?
They do that great close-up of, like, his eyes.
His eyes, yeah. And it's just, it gets you.
And you're feeling it, you
Yeah,
know? And
totally.
he even calls Pepper Potts and, like...
And she doesn't pick up.
And that relationship's move forward. That's good to see there. So he gave everyone their kind of next logical step into who they are as a person.
And like Captain America, who I was really worried about going in, was a great character. He ends up, like, his role is very clear by the end. He's the one running the show. Like, he's running it like a soldier. Like, he's directing people and telling them where to go and everything.
And there's that funny moment when he starts directing the cop.
Yeah.
And the cop's like, why should I listen to you?
And then he just, all these aliens attack him, and he just knocks them all up and then rips off one of their arms or something. And he immediately starts.
And he looks at the cop, and the cop's like, okay, I need quarantine on up to 38th Street. Does exactly what he says. So,
and then, but just forget, the action was amazing.
Yeah.
Great action, great special effects, all that stuff that we just kind of just not even talking about was all top notch. The whole reason most people, I think, would go to see this kind of movie is all great. It's all wonderful. So,
and this was Whedon's first real action.
No, Serenity, man.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, don't even tell me.
I mean, is there a lot of action in that?
It's all action. It's a giant sci-fi space cowboy adventure.
Right. Well, because I've seen
and you need to
of the
see
series.
It. Yes, but he actually had a huge.
The series wasn't super actiony.
This is much more actiony,
okay.
And this is a big reason why it was so amazing because that was the only big budget movie he ever did.
Okay.
It was a bomb. It did not do well.
Yeah.
The Cult of Whedon was not enough to support the movie.
Yeah.
Even though it's amazing. You should all go watch Serenity right now.
Serenity, and what's the series?
Firefly.
Firefly and Serenity. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it goes to show that, it's, even though the quality's there, maybe the concept or the idea wasn't, I don't know, marketable enough for a big enough audience or something. But just like Dollhouse, it's going to be quality. You know, it's when someone who knows what they're doing is behind it. Action sequences are imaginative. The fighting, choreographed really well.
I mean, compare this to something like Sucker Punch. Huge budget, gorgeous to look at, all kinds of inventive visuals. Boring.
Yeah.
Boring as all hell.
Right.
And again, like I said, it's like nothing I'd seen before, but I'd seen it all before.
Right.
All the action scenes, they're fighting the, not Nazi zombies, World War I, Kaiser zombies. Kaiser, steampunk Kaiser zombies. Sorry.
It's easier to say Nazi zombies, but...
We always get lit up on the boards every time we say it, so... But
Kaiser...
steampunk Kaiser zombies. But
that sounds cooler, because no one ever says that.
Right, but and the future, and the robots, and the dragons, and all this stuff, it's all boring. It's all just, I've seen all of it. This great fight choreography, great with in the buildings, and the Hulk, and Iron Man, and all of them doing their thing. All of them have their each own little thing, and they're all doing it well, and it works, man. It's awesome.
I also really feel too that I think Loki was kind of like this dark side of Whedon speaking through the character, because Loki's very much like humanity. You can't run yourself. You just want to be ruled. And there was even that scene where when the team discovers that the Phase 2 weapons were going to be built.
Right.
And then Captain America says something like, back in my day, someone was doing the same thing, and nothing's changed. Just that it's another side trying to do the same thing. Where there's kind of that like a little bit of faith or loss of faith almost in kind of the nobleness of the actions. And I did kind of think, since we saw Captain America right before this, didn't they capture the doctor of Hydra who built the weapons for Red Skull? And he didn't die at the end of that.
No, that was unresolved.
So wouldn't they have debriefed him, and wouldn't he, much like in real life, the guy who helped NASA do the space program?
Right.
He was a German scientist who did the rockets. So wouldn't he have just basically built them the weapons back in the day, instead of 40, 50 years, they're still struggling to do it.
Yeah.
There was like that one little kind of unresolved little plot thing.
Okay.
It only came up because it was so fresh in my mind, in terms of like, well, why don't they just have a doctor do it? You know, that's such a minimal thing here. This thing just hits on every level you want it to.
Yeah.
It goes beyond expectations. It's fun. It's smart. It's emotional.
And again, it shows what happens when you give the keys to a franchise with someone that knows what they're doing and that has imagination, and it just is.
I think that's what it comes down
That
to.
too.
It's just, and I think actually like probably Marvel and maybe Stan Lee probably had something to do with that.
You think?
I'm sure it's like him.
Well, because Joss Whedon has a history with Marvel. You know, he wrote the Astonishing X. He did a killer run on Astonishing X-Men.
Okay.
Like, it's generally regarded as one of the best runs on the series.
Really?
So yeah, he already had a relationship with Marvel going in. So
And it,
I like
it
to
feels
read
like
up on
it's
that with the background.
Marvel Studios in association
association
with Paramount.
So yeah,
So it might be that Stanley or people who are like head there, they're like, we got to maintain quality.
yeah.
And this is our vote.
And it's
for-
been quality control the entire way through. It's been one of the most quality controlled franchises. I mean, because it is a franchise. This idea, all these multiple movies brought together on a giant umbrella. Yeah, and it's, I mean, even Captain America, which I didn't particularly care for all of that much, still a quality movie.
Right.
Still well executed and well thought out
Yeah.
and well directed and well plotted and all that.
Hopefully-
Movie hope, man.
Yeah, this is
movie
super
movie hope.
This is big time movie.
Again, super movie hope because now Joss Whedon's got carte blanche to do whatever the hell Joss Whedon wants, which is pretty awesome.
I fear that the effect of the big success of this is going to be like
Justice League.
Justice League, but
Right.
now it's going to be Freddy, Jason, Hellraiser League, you know, and like just pick your mashups,
Right.
pick your big names, put up Problem Child meets Home Alone.
There we
whatever,
go.
You know, it's going to be all
Meets
that kind
Remote
of stuff. Meets Remote Control. Every John Ritter movie is going to be banded together, you know. That's kind of probably going to be an offshoot that we're going to get more of that crazy
Well, that was what Cabin in the Woods was. We got all the we got the killer clown from It. We got Pinhead, or sorry, what was it?
Fornicus Lord.
Fornicus Lord.
Pleasure and Pain.
We got the unicorn. We got the doll killer, the doll face,
Yeah.
witch, sexy witch, evil lusting tree, merman. So
Someone's been looking at that board a little
Oh, it's
bit.
hilarious.
Just I hope again, like my big fear is that Hollywood looks at that, there's that Aristotle thing of like the way in poetics, the way you make good stories is like plot, character, theme, then there's dialogue, then there's set pieces and music.
Right.
But when Hollywood looks at a success, they're like, oh, it's because of the set pieces, the music, and you know, it goes backwards.
Right.
So it doesn't relate it back to character and all that.
Right. Yeah. It
So
inverts
the,
it.
The accountants invert it.
They're gonna say big stars, big no name property,
A lot of superheroes.
and
or
superheroes
whatever.
and big action. And
Yeah.
that's, yeah, so they're going to make a Justice League movie. They're going to make DC movies. And could those be good? They could
Yes,
be.
they could be.
Or could they be Yes, they could be.
Right.
Could Marvel movies be Yeah.
Could this have been a big piece of if someone...
Say Brett Ratner, for instance, who ruined the X-Men franchise, just got the keys to the Dark Phoenix saga and drove it into the ground.
You know what Jonas's secret is? He's always angry.
At Brett Ratner.
Someone's hulking out big time right now. Tell us how you really feel. So Michael Bay, Brett Ratner. There's plenty of people who would have totally effed up this movie.
Yes, exactly.
And there's a handful that would have gotten it like this.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, can't say enough about this movie. Best movie of the year so far, easily.
Definitely.
And it gives you everything you want in every kind of way.
Seriously.
I can't remember the last movie I've wanted to see again in the theater.
I know. When was the last time we said I gotta go see the movie again in the theater?
Yeah.
And paying money for it.
Right.
And
Maybe Dark Knight. Maybe Dark Knight.
Dark Knight, yeah.
4 years ago.
Right. I'm totally gonna see this movie again.
Yeah.
And the reason is so I can catch all the jokes again. How crazy is that? It was this giant big action movie, yeah, for the spectacle, which is awesome. But yeah, to catch the dialogue and the jokes.
There was the laughs were so big that you missed the
They
next
swallowed
line.
up the next line. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's
Anyway.
the Hulk said something after he beat up Loki,
Yeah.
and we totally missed it.
We totally missed it.
So with that, super movie hope.
Oh man.
Dude, we made it through Marvel-a-thon, Nerd-a-thon,
Nerd-a-thon 2012. It was awesome.
It was amazing.
Let's do it again sometime.
The crowd was into it. Everyone stayed to the end, clapping nonstop. It was just a joyous celebration of what's good
And this
about
is what,
movies.
yeah, this is what is good about movies. Exactly. This is why we geek out over movies. This is why we are movie nerds. This is why we are pop culture buffs, because they join us together, and you know, into that whole schmaltzy stuff. But yeah, people bond over it, and it's just so much fun. It's just, I don't know.
So go see it. Movie Hope. With that, it's been an awesome experience.
Temporary movie victory, I think.
Movie victory.
Movie hope victory.
Movie nerds, victory. So with that, just always remember, Hollywood's going to give us more of what we pay for, so we should pay a lot for this so we get more of it. Choose your movies wisely, and until next time,
Long live good movies.